Hi guys, Brittney from American Scores here again for our next writing session. So today we're going to talk about riddle poetry. Riddle poetry is a lot of fun. It is one that makes a think a little bit, but it is one also that uses a lot of creativity, and it can be a challenge to see if you create a poem or a riddle that is more difficult to solve and how many people can solve it. So as always, we're going to define what is a riddle poem. A riddle poem is the same thing as a riddle. So a riddle poem is a poem that describes someone or something without naming it, which is the same thing as what a riddle is. So a riddle is when you get a bunch of different clues and your job is to figure out what are you talking about. You always try to make them a little hard so that maybe people have to think a little more. But whenever you're writing a riddle or a riddle poem, you're trying to make someone think about something and figure out from just the things you say what the answer is to that riddle. So if you're talking about a phone, it could be you hear people on it, you can put different cases on it, it rings, you can get text messages, and someone should be able to say, oh, a cell phone. You don't want to make it too difficult and too obscure. You want to make sure people still guess it, but a riddle poem is all about what is the answer to this. You don't ever give the answer in your poem yourself or in the riddle. It is something that someone has to say to you, and you have to confirm if they got the answer correct or not. So what we are going to do is we are going to solve some riddle poems. So I'm going to put a riddle on the screen. I'm going to read it. I want you then to take a minute. I want you to pause the video and write down the answer. See if you can decide. Now, all the answers to these are fruits or vegetables. So it should give you a signs. We're going to theme our riddles and a riddle poem around nutrition and fruits and vegetables. So riddle number 1 says, I'm unique of all fruits because I don't grow from trees. I'm from large plants, giant herbs that grow in the breeze. A great source of instant energy and vitamin C. I help muscles contract properly. Potassium's in me. I'm rich in vitamin B6. You can bake me with bread. You don't want to eat my skin. Try inside instead. I taste great on intake. Substitute me for sweet. So this is your poem. This is your first riddle. There's some very big hints here. It talks about baking with bread. It talks about being a source of potassium. It's something you do not eat the skin of. It's something you only eat the inside of. So I want you to take a second. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to think, what fruit could this be? All right, you're back. You've thought it through. Do you know what the answer is? The answer is bananas. Bananas have a lot of potassium. Banana bread is very common. It's something you can use for sweets instead of like candy or sugar. All right, let's try another one. Riddle number 2. I guard against food poisoning. No nonsense. I've got extremely high beta-carotene content. I got many health benefits and protect against coronary heart disease. I am a lung cancer defense. Bugs Bunny loves me. Yeah, what's up, doc? I've got dry orange skin and a green mohawk. Some say I'm good for teeth, and some say I'm good for eyes, and some say your teeth. I don't know, I had trouble with that last line. So again, take a minute, look through the clues, look through the poem, and decide what fruit or vegetable is this. It's orange with a green mohawk. I think that's a pretty good hint. Bugs Bunny eats it. Those are already have hint. All right, pause. Come back when you think you know what the answer is. Now that you're back means you know what the answer is. And did you say carrots? Yes, carrots are loved by Bugs Bunny. Bunnies love carrots. Obviously, it's orange and it's got a green mohawk. Good job, guys. All right, for our last one. I have antioxidants. I'm a cleansing food. I help soothe joint problems. I'm best when eaten fresh. Rinse me off if you're paranoid. Red, green, or yellow, my skin contains flavonoids. Some people bake me in pies or squeeze me in juice. Large quantities encourage decay of the tooth. I can reduce blood cholesterol levels for free. Again, there's some big hints in this one. Red, green, and yellow. It's juice or pies. Think about a food or a fruit that could be a juice or a pie. And I want you to take a second, think about it, and then come back when you got the answer. You're back. which means you think you know what the answer to this riddle is. So did you say apples? If you did, you're right. So apples, they're good for they can reduce blood cholesterol, they're a cleansing food, they have a lot of different color skins, they're pies and juice. Very good. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna write our own riddle poems, as we do with everything. We always write our own. So what we're gonna do though is we're gonna kind of write about food. So again, we just saw some examples on fruits and vegetables. So but you're gonna be thinking, I need some information. I need to figure out how to choose my fruit and vegetables. So the first thing here you see, this is your, what it can be considered the plate that you should be using when you're thinking about how to eat. So here is your nutrition plate. As you can see, it tells you kind of how much fruit, how many grains, how many vegetables, how many proteins, and how much dairy to have in your diet. We're not really gonna go over like the different amounts, but this is something you can use as inspiration for your riddle poem. So I want you to look at this plate and I want you to decide, do you want to do a fruit? Do you want to do a vegetable? Do you want to talk about a grain? Do you want to talk about a protein? Or do you want to talk about something that's dairy? So take a second, pause the video, think of different fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, and dairies that you understand and know a lot about, and decide which category you want to go with. When you do have your category, come back. I'm going to go to the next part. Okay, so you have chosen, so you've chosen your category for food. So now you're going to choose what kind of food you're going to do. So here you're going to see different categories. So there's information on vegetables, fruits, grains, dairy, and proteins. So the vegetables, so it talks about kind of how you can make a balanced diet and what to add. So I want you to kind of look at this and decide if this is going to help you choose your food that you're going to use for your riddle poem. So the vegetables talk about eating more red, orange, and dark green veggies like tomatoes or sweet potatoes. So maybe that's what you want to use. And broccoli in main dishes. So maybe you want to talk about broccoli. Fresh, frozen, and canned vegetables all count. You could talk about those, but choosing reduced sodium or no salt added. So this is kind of gives you some spots to start with vegetables. Maybe you decided you wanted to do a fruit. So now you'll see here, it talks about use fruit as snacks, salads, and desserts. So you realize that fruits are not a main meal, but help to supplement other meals. You could use at breakfast, have your cereal, bananas or strawberries. So maybe you want to talk about strawberries and you're going to mention that it can be something that could be put on cereal. Buy fruits that are dried, frozen, or canned, as well as fresh fruits. You can maybe talk about your fruit and talk about how you can get it in a can, you can get it dried, and how it's better one way or the other. And maybe you talk about the different juices it in and saying this brand is always 100% whatever juice. Or you decided to do grains. Grains are like breads. So maybe you substitute whole grain choices for refined breads, bagels. So maybe you talk about how you want to talk about a bagel, but you're going to talk about how the whole grain choice is the better choice. Or you can talk about how you're always going to look at the ingredient list, or how you're going to make sure that that's always what that is going to show you. Maybe you decided to go with dairy, so yogurt or milk or something like that. Talks about the different types of milk. So maybe skim or 100%. You use this and go, okay, well, you're going to talk about there's different types of milk. And that's how you use the hints. Instead of saying milk, you'll say, I come in 1% skim, which is better for you. I come in whole or whatever. So you could say, even, if you're talking about milk, here it talks about how, 1% in skim have the same amount of calcium, but they have less fat. So you could say something like, I come in skim on 1%, which is better for you than the whole milk because it's less fat. And then whole, then it's because it's less fat. Remember, you don't want to say the word in your poem because that gives it away. You could talk about how it tops fruit salads and baked potatoes with low-fat yogurts. So if you're going to talk about yogurt, talk about low-fat yogurt. So when you're talking about your choice of food, you can give some hints about it. Protein is another, the protein is meats, so meats and fishes. So you can talk about how you have to eat a variety. You can eat seafood and beans and peas and nuts, as well as meats and poultry and eggs. And maybe you're going to pick beans to talk about. And that's how you can talk about it, saying, I'm one of this group or something. So, maybe twice a week you decide, or you want to talk about seafood, and you could say twice a week you should have this type of meat on your plate. So this section here, what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video and I want you to read each one of these. I just did a quick snippet of each, but I want you to read them and say, okay, this gives me some ideas of how I'm going to write my riddle poems. It gives me some hints of how to talk about my food and what kind of things to highlight so that someone could then guess my food. Once you're done with that, come back. Okay, you're back, which means you have decided on the category of food. Now that you looked at the different types and different ideas and how it can be nutritious, you decide on the food itself. Now it is time to write your poem. So what you need to do is that on the top of your papers, you need to write whatever food or type of food that you chose. And then I want you to write down all the different characteristics. So those kind of things you were just looking at. So whether it, you know, is it better for you? Should you put it on cereal? Should you put it in a cake? Talk about the different things it can be made into, the different ways you can consume it, and the different nutritional value that item has. And then put it together in a poem. So like we saw in our last one, so you can go back to the beginning of this video and look at the different examples of the poems and it talks about I am this, or I can be eaten this way, or I can be drank this way. I am full of this and that. But remember, when you're writing your riddle poem, do not tell us what it is. So if you're giving me a hint about milk, don't say there are many types of milk, 1% skim, whatever. Make sure you're saying I come in many forms, 1% in skim is better than whole because it has less fat. That way, I, as the reader, go, oh, okay, 1% skim and whole. I know those different types of milk. I bet this is about milk. Don't want to say the words, then you're giving it away. There's nothing to guess. Okay. Then I want you, once you're done, read it to your family. See if someone can guess the answer and see if someone can figure out what you're talking about. All right? Once you're done with your poem, come back. Now that you are back and you have written your riddle poem, you've decided on your food, you decided on what you wanted to talk about that food, it is your turn to share with us and see if we can guess it. Can the Scores staff guess what your riddle poem was about? I bet some of you are going to stump us. So I want you to go on flipgrid.com. I want you to put in the code writing poems as always. Find riddle poem as your topic and submit your video. Remember, don't tell us the answer yet. So I want you just to submit it for us. And I want to see if we can guess because we can reply to it. And I want myself and Coach Claire and Coach Ramona and Coach Matthew to look at them and see if we can give you the answers. And we'll type it up in the comment section and see if we can give you the answer, or one of us will do a video, see if we can guess it. So I want to see if we can guess your poem. So feel free to put it up there. Remember, once you submit in 5 videos, you earn a $10 Walmart gift card. Remember, it could be any 5 videos. It could be soccer, it could be writing, it could be a combination of both. Any of the topics are up for game from the beginning of this until we end on July 31st. So we cannot wait to see your poems, and I really hope some of you stump us. All right, have a great day, guys.